guys, and welcome back to Style and
Direction.
That's
right.
A menswear podcast without the stuffiness. If you've forgotten what I sound like in my trademark lisp, this is Ethan M. Wong.
My name is Spencer Oddie.
And like the band Stained, it's been a while.
I think we've said that for the last 3 episodes, which is a really good indication of our content output.
Yeah, I think this officially counts as like season 2 now because of how long we've been on hiatus.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer, and then
even though our last
fall.
episode, our last episode was in October.
I don't even remember what that one was about.
It was about YouTubers. Go listen to that one. So basically, for those of you who have been listening to this, for a while, you guys should know that the basic format is we have a guest, we talk to them, and then we discuss a topic. Mm-hmm. And while that's great,
it's tough to get guests.
It is tough, yeah. It's tough to get guests,
and to work around their schedule because we have
them. Yeah. And I know we have a lot of willing people. It's just kind of hard to work around the schedules. I get off work really late. Spencer also can get off work late.
Yeah, different time zones.
Yeah, and it's been hard to kind of do all that. I think if we do have a guest in the future, we'll probably bring them on and do it live with them, kind of like we did with the Raj episode a couple episodes ago. But basically, we thought that we'd go back and kind of change up the format a little bit and kind of talk about stuff that we haven't talked about on the blog in a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of give our point of view on, I guess, menswear, which is exactly what this podcast was going to be. But we first thought that people would get bored of hearing us talk.
But then we realized that's all that they want.
Yeah. Well, the common consensus was that when are you guys going to make more episodes out of like the 10 people that listen to this? And we're like, you know what? We're just going to start making them and start pushing them out.
Yeah, so we're going to start having kind of like mini-sodes because, a little peek behind the curtain, the recording process for regular episodes with guests can be like 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And that also puts kind of a damper on things. So we're gonna put out these the plan is 30-minute to 45-minute episodes. We'll see how long it ends up being because we both like to talk. So
and talk we do. So yeah, hopefully you guys will like this new format. We just want to give this a little introduction for that. And another peek behind the curtains. Basically, if you guys don't know, Tanner Guzzi does a lot of these mini-sodes, and he did a thinly veiled episode on cultural Marxism. He never said it specifically, but he talked about how like feminine and androgynous style is like seeping into menswear, and like how people are accepting it. And I feel like this is exactly how people complain about cultural Marxism. So I'm like, if you can talk about that for 35 minutes to an hour, I can talk about actual menswear and tailoring for 35 minutes to an hour.
Yep.
So that's where we are today. And what better way to start than talking about building a classic menswear wardrobe?
Yeah, building the basic wardrobe.
We get this question asked a lot every time Spencer and I go on Instagram Live, which I guess was like our protopod PPs as they call it. I'm always surprised when people go, "Hey Ethan, I've got a question. How do I start dressing in classic menswear? How do I start dressing vintage or whatever?" And I give the same answers every time. Spencer gives the same answers. I mean, it might change every once in a while, based on what we're into at the time. But we get it asked a lot, even in my DMs.
Yeah, me too. I got that question today in my DMs.
Oh wow! From whom?
What?
From whom?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't have to.
I'm not sure if he wants his name broadcast out here. But anyway, I at least speaking for myself, and I think I'm speaking for you as well. We never really set out to say I'm building a basic beginner's wardrobe when we first got started in this.
I think we did talk about this in the Aldous episode, which is a really great one because we do talk about the concept of having a uniform and I guess basics that you fall back on, and all 3 of us kind of approached our outfits or I guess our wardrobes in general, very differently. Like Aldrich's first outfit ever was a fucking black tie rig from like 1927.
And my early purchases were just stuff that my parents would buy me from Kohl's, like chinos or short.
Oh, are you talking like actual like clothing?
Yeah,
like
no,
like not like your classic menswear.
No, I'm talking about my classic menswear, like short sleeve button ups from Kohl's that I thought looked very 50s, 60s, chinos, and then whatever I could afford from Joyride Vintage. That was about it.
I never had anything like that because for me, classic menswear, or I guess at first vintage menswear, was my that was like my thing. So I had to figure out what I wanted, and I think my first suit, I bought like an electric blue gabardine odd jacket, which I still have because it fits really well. I bought like odd trousers that I sold back to Joyride. I have like a gray belt back suit, which I just let go as well. But if we're talking like what my parents bought me, like all my regular clothes were like fucking Domo t-shirts, Star Wars t-shirts, and like black skinny jeans from fucking Hot Topic. And but yeah, so I think the common thing here is that we never approached it as we're going to start with basics. We got to get a navy this or khaki that. We all just said, hey, we like that. We have enough money for it. We're going to buy it.
Yep.
And that's basically because also vintage is, you're kind of limited to whatever is on eBay at the time or whatever in the store. Like
Yeah, and that's why we have so much winter weight stuff, because that's just what you find almost year round.
Yeah, you can find tweed like at a Goodwill in July, and it lasts longer. Summer weight wools, while they did exist, are very delicate, and because of that, they tend to disintegrate or to get ripped very easily.
And the nature of vintage is that if you don't buy it the first time you see it, chances are it's not going to be there again. Same thing with thrifting. Like if you go to Goodwill and see like a really cool piece that you're like, oh, I like this, but I'm not going to be able to wear it for 6 months, you still have to buy it because it's not going to be there. So
to answer the people who come in and say, how do I make a vintage wardrobe with the basics, or how to make a basic vintage wardrobe, you can't approach it that way. I guess you can like keep your eyes open, but if you see something you like, you should just buy it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
But if we had to give like actual, I guess, like advice,
if we were to start over like right now and we had to build it from zero, that's something that Spencer and I have kind of talked about a little bit, and I guess we haven't really actually gave the advice until like right now officially. And so that's what this whole thing is about.
So right now we have pulled up a bunch of different resources ranging from like male fashion advice to like permanent style about building basic wardrobes. So yeah.
And again, take what we say with a grain of salt, because we haven't
done
tastes.
This. Yeah.
And not just that, but context definitely matters, first of all. Again, I work in menswear. I'm a photographer. Spencer works in retail. We have kind of a freedom to dress however we want. I'm sure Spencer would tell you, as a guy who's currently in college, that he probably wouldn't recommend that you wear a suit to fucking class.
No, I mean, it's like there are a lot of people that do that, and if that's what makes you feel good, go ahead. But yeah, I personally wouldn't, because there's some days where I'm like the only guy in there wearing like a button-up shirt, so I don't want to be that that overdressed.
And I definitely, I share bad pictures of myself all the time, but there are definitely times where I was fucking wearing a tie to like a accounting lecture where even the other accounting majors are fucking wearing like a t-shirt and flip-flops.
And I think we'd both say that for anyone getting started and trying to dress well, this is something that's said all the time on the internet, but it's so true. Dressing up does not mean dressing well. There's a difference.
Yeah, you can't just wear a suit and you can't and expect to look good. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that come with it, and you could even say the attitude of how you're wearing the suit could also affect how well you look in it. But okay, so if we're talking about basic menswear wardrobe, if you're starting from zero, if you're starting from Ethan in a Domo t-shirt and black skinny jeans, which are the Rude Fit, I don't even know if they still make them. But if you're like, hey, I kind of want to start dressing classic menswear, what should I do? Well, Spencer, why don't you jump in there? Why don't we go? We'll start with like MFA kind of things, because MFA, I think it's all, if you guys aren't in that sub, you guys should be, because there's a bunch of different styles in there, and everyone started around the same kind of this basic template, and they've all branched out from there, so they can always give advice. You can get a Rick Owens guy saying, hey, you should get this from J. Crew because he was there when he was first starting out.
No, exactly. Like, it's a great place to start, because it's like, it builds the basic bastard wardrobe for as much as it's made fun of. It's very, very helpful if you're just getting started. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's all very versatile pieces, and from there you can start developing your own style.
Yeah, so when you look at it, it's on the wiki. I'm pretty sure. The wiki, as in there's a link on the side of it. There's some people who have never gone on Reddit before, which is crazy.
Yep.
But I'm just looking through it. It is basic. You're wearing minimalistic colors. You're wearing crew neck t-shirts, maybe an OCBD, but like an untucked length, and then you're wearing dark indigo black jeans and chinos.
Yep.
And there are always ways to make it more interesting, because I could see a lot of parallels from this to like a Japanese minimalist kind of thing, like a baggy t-shirt with like cropped wide leg chinos. It's technically an interpretation of the basic bastard look. But I can see why I'm not a big fan of this, and Spencer and I've talked to Spencer about this. Sometimes when a guy, like, we see things in like a fashion group or whatever that we're a part of, and a guy's like, hey, what do you think of this, guys? And he's wearing like a t-shirt and jeans.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's great, but I don't really see a lot of personal style there. And that's okay.
Because again, when you start out, it's hard. Like, I definitely put together some stuff that I thought looked good, but did not work at all. So
yeah. And starting out with stuff like a plain white t-shirt with indigo, or like I don't know, I like the idea of like a pink t-shirt with like black jeans and white sneakers. Like, you're basically color blocking, and it's a good way to, I guess, to find out like what kind of palette and what kind of colors that will work for you.
Yeah.
But my thing is always like, I don't really think of it as too much of style, and this is just my devil's advocate or asshole opinion, I guess, because it's kind of like wearing a t-shirt and jeans isn't really all too interesting. And I have a feeling that a lot of people who are listening to the podcast will not dress that way anyway.
Yeah.
But we do get a lot of guys who come in who wear suits, and they ask us how we dress casually, and I guess this is what I would tell them, like, just wear a plain t-shirt and plain jeans and white sneakers, like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And our friend MJ actually started out with this kind of outfit too.
And so the one thing I also will say about the basic bastard wardrobe is this might be the slightly older one from like a couple of years ago, but if you're looking to specifically dress in classic menswear, this is a great jumping off point to kind of like preppy Ivy style, like very simple Ivy style.
Yeah.
Like, you can check out Oxford Cloth Button Down on Instagram. I would not say that I'm not saying that his wardrobe is basic, but he has a lot of simple pieces, like just OCBDs with chinos or something like that, and white sneakers and stuff like that. It's just like, it's a step up from the basic bastard wardrobe, but you can see some similarities.
No, exactly. I think
it's an evolution of it.
Yes, yeah, I was about to say that, because I think starting out with the basic bastard, especially if you've like never really worn anything like dressy yet, it'll help you understand, again, like I said, the color palette that works for you. But it's really a lot of the same earth tones. Like, I still wear like white sneakers with chinos and a blue shirt, or olive and khaki together, and then translating that to like, oh yeah, olive military pants with a white OCBD, and like espadrilles or something like that. You'll see the echoings of the basic bastard, but done in a different way.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to the more classic menswear stuff, because I don't think a lot of people will be like, how do I dress at all? Like, I'm pretty sure people in the podcast are more advanced than that.
Do we want to take a look at Richard Press's 10 Ivy League wardrobe essentials?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go into that because
So I'll just go through the list and we can make a couple comments.
right. And
So
let's just say here that a lot of our style now is definitely way more Ivy than it's
yep.
ever been ever before.
Especially in fall winter because it's such a good time to be Ivy.
Yeah, no, exactly. When people say like how do I dress up without being too dressed up, I think that Ivy style, trad, whatever you want to call it, is where it's at.
Oh yeah.
There is no comparison because wearing a suit like okay, I guess if you want to an English suit, with the shoulders and the drape cut or whatever, there's no way that you're gonna wear that out and not look super dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's one reason why I stopped wearing vintage all the time. I mean, even though I like the silhouettes, it never looked like I was chilling.
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard to
I
look.
don't know.
It's hard to look casual. I mean, there are people that do it, but for the average guy, it's harder to look casual.
Yeah, and again, we know a lot of vintage guys, in England and in the United States, who wear vintage or vintage cut suits, and they do whatever they want in those things, and I'm honest to say that I don't have that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
So opting for Ivy, which incorporates a lot more casual fabrics, a lot softer shoulders, like earth tones and separates basically.
Oh yeah.
Is why we gravitate toward that as basically that's like our jumping out point. Like I experiment a lot with my casual wear. Like I wouldn't say that my casual wear is basic bastard. I would say that if I was gonna be normal, I would just stick to Ivy clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should have actually started here, but whatever.
That's okay.
So Richard Press, one of the he's the founder,
the son,
right?
No, son of the
son.
founder, I think.
Son of the founder.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
son of the founder, grandson of the founder, but
man, I swear, if anyone from J Press listens to this, we're like just shitting on their whole thing.
And they're gonna ban us from their stores.
No more Yale Club for us.
No more Yale Club. But anyway, yeah, he's one of like kind of the Ivy League originals. He went to an Ivy League university in the 1950s. Again, can't remember which one, but that's okay. But here's his top 10 list of Ivy League essentials. Number 1, a gray flannel suit. And he says that students don't wear a suit every day, of course, especially not to class. But there are certain formal occasions in a student's life that requires a suit. And so he's just saying that a gray flannel is probably the most versatile because it's something you could wear to a wedding, a funeral, an interview, something like that. And he suggests an old-fashioned gray flannel suit or a gray chalk stripe suit in midweight flannel that can be worn in the heat of the summer, perhaps, but certainly from September to June. I would recommend maybe against a chalk stripe suit for your first suit because I think that's too businessy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the idea of a gray suit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people ask us, we usually say skip the gray, go for blue.
Yep,
because
I agree.
Blue is a soft color to me. I mean that's what I'm using to describe it.
Yeah.
I just like blue more. I think things go a lot better with blue.
Mm-hmm.
Brown and blues work together, gray and blue works, and I feel like that gray is kind of like the absence of color, which I guess is why people gravitate toward it because it's so much more formal, or at least conservative in that sense, where you can literally wear whatever you want. But I feel like when you say whatever you want, it stands out.
Yeah.
As opposed to blue, where it's more in harmony as opposed to contrast.
Mm-hmm.
And but the gray flannel suit is probably a good choice. I would probably do a blue flannel suit.
And being from Southern California, I would say maybe not flannel, just like a light, but that's
like a hopsack fresco.
But again, that's
weave.
just our regional bias. If you're on the East Coast or somewhere that's not like it was like 75 degrees today on close to December, and so just if you're somewhere where it gets a little bit cooler, flannel suit would be a good choice, but maybe not around here.
Yeah, and again, I would say blue flannel suit or a blue suit just because, well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna wear a blue blazer more than a gray blazer.
And just speaking of,
number two,
blue blazer. So he says it with a blue blazer with brass buttons. You can wear it with flannel trousers, jeans, khakis, corduroys. You can even pair it with some wild stuff like tartans Nantucket Reds, or what he calls brights, which I can only assume are just bright colored trousers.
So you think? So he's talking about like a blue. Like he's talking about the blue blazer with brass buttons.
Oh yeah, like patch pockets probably.
That's I know this is his list for like the essentials for an Ivy League wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
It took a long time for me to get behind a blue blazer with brass buttons because it's so preppy.
Yeah, exactly. It has very specific connotations, and it can be hard to wear outside of the prep look.
Yeah, because even like if you're doing it like the Japanese style, I think those guys really pull it off. If you're do like kind of like a high water pant look or a wide leg look.
The kind of like free and easy style where they pair like like the traditional navy blazer with like World War II prisoner of war trousers and stuff like that. But that's a little bit more.
That's like advanced. Yeah. I would say like a blue blazer with like regular horn buttons. Mm-hmm. Is where it's at. In flannel or hopsack. Basically, I know we'll get to our recommendations after we go through what different people have called their quintessential lists or whatever. But if I'm just gonna jump in, I'm gonna be like, you should have two fabrics. You should have flannel and hopsack / fresco. Mm-hmm. That'll get you through whatever.
Yep. So number 3, he says flannel trousers, just mid-weight gray flannel trousers. I agree with that. That's a good one.
Yeah, gray flannels are literally one of the best things ever invented. They go with everything.
Yep.
Because you're going to wear gray pants more than a gray jacket, so you might as well just buy the pants and buy a different gray jacket.
Exactly. Next, we just have khakis, and I think that's pretty, that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, there's not much really you could say about khakis. It's simple, easy. I just recently got a pair of like World War II style officer khakis that I'm loving. So
I don't really wear a lot of military chinos or khakis just because I haven't found any, and I don't know. I guess it's like one thing I'm not super into, but I do love my J. Crew ones, and they're good.
Yeah.
Why don't we just keep going through the list just real quick so we can...
Crisp Oxford, again, simple. Bermuda shorts. So
whether you're in the East Village or on the Upper East Side, everyone's wearing Bermuda shorts.
Mm-hmm. Neckties.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Neckties. White bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Cords. And Shetland items.
So let's go through here and say what we own of this. So
I don't own a gray flannel suit.
I used to, and I don't anymore. I do have a blue blazer.
I have a gray tweed suit, but I don't wear because it's literally not cold enough for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a blue hopsack blazer. I do now have. Me and Spencer both have the same Uniqlo.
Yep.
Navy faux tweed jacket, and we both have hopsack.
Yep.
And I have a traditional blue blazer actually. So.
Yeah, me too. We both have the gray flannels. We both have several pairs of khakis.
Yeah, different forms.
I think I'm the only one that has an actual... I'm sure you have to have an Oxford somewhere.
Oh, I do. I just don't have the classic unlined collar in blue.
Okay. Well, your Ascot Chang shirts are Oxford cloth. But
yeah, I also have like 3 pairs of 70s Oxfords.
Okay.
Not blue.
Yeah, I have a lot of Oxford shirts. Some from Drake's. A lot of them are vintage Brooks Brothers, which you can get on eBay for really cheap. So hit that up.
And we'll get back to our own preferences for this after we go through the different lists.
Bermuda shorts. I've
got Gurkha shorts.
100% honest. I don't know what makes Bermuda shorts Bermuda shorts. Like I've just heard.
Aren't they just short shorts?
I don't know. Do you have neckties?
Oh, I have got so many neckties.
Same. I don't own Bucks. I own a pair of corduroys, but I don't really like them, and I'm looking for a replacement.
Me too.
And I don't...
Well, okay, so this one's a regional thing. We're not going to really wear Shetland sweaters. I have like lamb's wool sweaters from like the 30s same. And 40s. I have a Shetland wool from J. Crew from like the 80s. That's a great Fair Isle. Mm-hmm. But I'm never going to wear them until it's like freezing balls off cold because it's not possible to wear.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
I mean, again, Ivy League wardrobe is implying that you are living in an Ivy League school where it actually does snow.
Yeah, exactly. It's all on the East Coast. Over here, we don't really have that, so.
Yeah, so, but I mean, this is a good place to look at. This is on stylecaster.com if you just look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Press's 10 Ivy League wardrobe essentials.
Okay.
Again, it's a fairly basic format for a quintessential look.
Mm-hmm. Next, we can check out a dye workwear article from a couple years ago.
And 5 years ago.
5 years. It's been 5 years. And so he's kind of talking about in the beginning, it's like there are hundreds if not thousands of lists on how to build a basic wardrobe. Most are meant for people just starting out. And this is what he calls the not so basic wardrobe.
So I guess this could work for you guys who are like, hey, I'm already starting to dress up, but I want to change it up, but also be normal.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this list pretty fast because there's a lot of things on the list. This is from Michael Alden, who posted these lists at the London Lounge. So he recommends 5 city suits, 2 informal weekend or country suits, tweed or linen, 3 tweed coats, 1 navy double-breasted blazer, 1 dinner jacket, 2 summer weight unlined coats, 10 pairs of casual trousers, 24 boxer shorts, 85 neckties, 7 white shirts, 7 colored dress shirts.
17 colored dress shirts.
17, I forgot. 12 informal button-down shirts, 36 pochettes, 8 sweaters, 2 vests, 5 pajamas, 1 bathrobe in wool, 1 bathrobe in silk, a smoking jacket.
That one's optional.
Yeah, a smoking jacket or barber jacket, 7 pairs of shoes, so that's 4 Oxfords, 2 elegant brogues, 1-sided double brogues, or double-soled brogues, sorry, 4 overcoats, 1 leather jacket, 5 hats, 4 caps, 3 pairs of gloves. Wow. An assortment of silk and cashmere scarves, 2 umbrellas, boxes of socks, an unlimited number of cufflinks, 2 timepieces, and assorted braces and belts. So that's what he says for oh my god, that's what he calls a minimalistic wardrobe.
Good God.
I can't imagine having that much money. And also that much just like planning of your wardrobe. Like there's nothing wrong with a good list like this, but that's just not how Ethan and I operate.
Yeah, because we're not. When people ask us how we dress, how we approach building our wardrobes or starting out, we don't think, hey, I know that I can do this with 10 things, like or blue jacket times 5 pairs of pants means 5 different outfits or whatever. Yep. Like there's a whole, I think we talked about this before in the other episode where like Alpha M tries to pitch this to Shark Tank where he's like, I've come up with the scientific algorithm to make the most perfect outfit every time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, that's weird.
Yeah.
Because we approach things. We don't really do stuff vintage anymore where we just buy willy-nilly, these vintage stuff on eBay, but we do buy things just for the hell of buying things. Mm-hmm. There's, we'll be like, oh yeah, that's a cool tweed. I know I can maybe wear it with jeans and chinos. All right, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I'm guessing that's what Michael Alden's doing here because he's got like a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm. Like I've never gone to like a place and brought like a suit to try to pair a tie with it. Like I buy ties that I think look cool and I figure out how I'm going to wear it later. Yeah,
and I think that's an important part of learning how to dress well because if you dress based on what you would think other people would like, or if you dress based on maximum versatility, that's not really style, at least to me. That's just putting an outfit together.
Yeah.
And that's like the opposite. Like Spencer said, dressing up does not mean dressing well. Mm-hmm. I don't even think that dressing at all means you're dressed well.
Yeah.
I think that's totally up to your personal style and your quirky, if not rebellious choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's having a very versatile wardrobe is great from the beginning, but the goal of anyone who's interested in fashion, just for the sake of dressing up, rather than just dressing for work or whatever, should be develop your own personal style.
And that is exactly what I want to tell so many people, because I mean, I don't think I'm dressing professionally. Like, if I had a regular office job, I probably wouldn't wear like half the things in my wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
I might push it later on, maybe if I was there for like, half a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But we wear what we want to wear because we like clothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're maximalists.
Mm-hmm. Like
I kind of wish Michael Alden would kind of go into detail over which is which, but
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, I'm going into journalism, and most journalists dress like shit, but I still wear like, Oxford shirts and like, and like sport coats when I'm on assignment because that's how I want to dress. So yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I guess that's what dye workwear.
Yeah, he has a couple other lists, but it's all, it's kind of similar. They're kind of similar. To that.
Yeah. And what I think we're getting at is that it's hard for guys who like menswear to have these lists.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, at least to me, which is one of the reasons why I never wrote about it, is because I felt like I'm just treading on the same territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, when people come and ask us, I want to be like, okay, why don't you ask us how to dress 1930s, or how to dress like a movie star, or
Mm-hmm.
or like Japanese Ivy. And we're not experts in what everyone's wearing, but we can definitely approximate the look.
Yeah, because it's like otherwise I'm just going to, we're just going to send you links to the stuff that we're talking about on this episode. Because they said it better than we could, so.
And we don't dress basic. That's kind of how it is, and I do believe everyone should start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said in the YouTube thing, I'm like, come back when you have like a better understanding of what exactly you want to wear.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these lists, they get you through the day, they get you through class or a job interview, but I feel like if you stay that way, you're not gonna feel ready to dress for yourself until you start thinking, okay, what is it about Drake's that I like? What is it about the Armory, or what is it about this picture of Clark Gable that is really calling out to me? Because I'm pretty sure that those guys all had weird stuff that wasn't exactly the basic wardrobe.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that you get tagged on MFA a lot for things like someone's like, oh, I want to dress like 1920s. And then you ask them, okay, well, what do you mean you want to dress 1920s? Like, what is why, like, what makes you, like, what draws you to that style? And I think that's the question that everyone just needs to ask.
And about anything, to be honest, because I think, I mean, even on MFA, they get questions that are basically like, oh, hey, I'm 20, I'm about to start college, I want to dress better. And it's like, okay, but what does dressing better mean to you? Mm-hmm. Like, do you like the SLP look, which I would recommend to a lot of young guys out there? Do you like the Basic Bastard look, which I would also recommend? Like, it's kind of like, if you think about it, Basic Bastard and SLP have a lot of things in common. It's a lot of neutrals. I mean, SLP relies more on like skinny fit, black and white, gray, or whatever, or Scandinavian minimalism and whatever. But they're both got these similar ideas. It's just kind of like, what do you like more? Mm-hmm. And understanding that is where you need to be before you even start considering what lists. Because like you could get the Basic Bastard list, and then you could get this next permanent style list that we're about to go into, and they could technically be both basic, but you're gonna have widely different contexts that you're gonna be dressing in.
And so this last one is from Permanent Style, and it's this is, I guess, the most high end out of everything that we've looked at so far.
Yep. Simon.
So this is not for like a college kid who's starting to just get dressed up, but this is what he defines, or not necessarily as the basics, but getting the basics right is what the article is called. So he recommends switching from off the rack suits to made to measure suits. He recommends just taking, this is I guess, a basic wardrobe tip, but just taking care of your clothes, hanging it up right, press it, stuff like that. Buy Benchmade shoes, places like Loke, Grenson, Cheney, stuff like that.
I've never heard of Cheney or Grenson.
Neither have I just know Lokes. Expensive ties and conservative patterns. And expensive pocket squares. Match your socks to your trousers, which again we wouldn't do. That's boring. And that's basically it. This was sorry, Simon, but this list wasn't as exciting as the rest of them.
I'm looking through it now. I think he's just saying like, oh, don't. It just shouldn't matter what basics you have. Just make sure that the things you do have are good.
Are good, yeah.
And I think, and that's another way to put it too. Like, oh, you can be weird or you can be basic, but just make sure that what you have is like the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not. I can see why, but then I think that takes away some aesthetics from it. Like I think that Simon wears like I think he has like a bespoke cashmere hoodie. Then I'm like, okay,
bespoke pajamas too.
One of my favorite hoodies from back in the day is this horizontal black and green striped number that was from the Shaun White collection of like 2007. I mean, I love that thing. I brought it with me when I went to China. I brought it with me when I went to New York when I was in high school. Like, it doesn't always have to be the best. I think a little bit of
and especially when you're experimenting with something that you're like, oh, I don't really know if I'm gonna like this. If you buy the most expensive version of that first, or if you set out to buy the most expensive version of that, you might never get it because you're like, I don't want to spend money on something that I'm not sure I'm gonna love. So
see, this is where things, I'm not trying to advocate fast fashion, but shopping at the very least, like sale at J. Crew or maybe Massimo or whatever, is a good way to get higher or mid-quality stuff that will last you a while and you're able to, wear it and use it.
Yeah.
Or I guess, if you wanted to do H&M, you could, if you really, really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did that. Some of my first chinos ever, that when I was like, oh, hey, I want to start wearing chinos, because apparently that's what Ben Wyatt wears in Parks and Rec. Yeah. I went to H&M and bought some fucking cheap-ass chinos. And then you can upgrade them later. And I think Spencer talked about this before, too, where I didn't really agree with it, but now I'm starting to see where I think, you bought like a yellow Oxford.
Yeah, no, because it's like the better examples would be rugby shirt. When I first got hired at J. Crew, I got a rugby shirt, which I wasn't really sure I was going to like, but then I realized I do like it, and I'm probably going to get more from like, like Columbia knit or something like that. And then we got someone returned an item that he got on sale, which was like just a bold striped shirt that, kind of reminded me of like the Drake's spring summer stuff from last year. And I got it because it was my size, and it was like $10, or like maybe even less, because it was on discount, and I got my discount. And that one I realized, oh, maybe I don't really like this one as much. So now, it allowed me to kind of experiment with both.
And see, my flip on that would be try and thrift these items. I mean, if you get lucky, that's entirely up to you and how the thrifting scene in your country or city is like. But I mean, that's what I would do. Like, I would thrift OCBDs because like at first I never wore anything other than Oxford, not Oxford, Spearpoint collars. And then I was like, okay, maybe I want to try this whole Ivy thing out, with the collar roll or whatever. And instead of buying a custom shirt, or instead of buying a shirt from like Brooks Brothers that was like $150 that I did not want to, I would go to my thrift store and I'd be like, hey, there's a Brooks Brothers unlined Oxford for like $10. I'm going to try this out. And then I liked it and I wore it a lot. And then I would try and find more. And I still do that because I like having a lot of things. I'd rather spend $10 per item than $70 for one item.
Yeah, wait for the big debate episode where we get into Ethan's McDonald's analogy. Because it's like after we recorded the All This episode, we did get into like an hour-long debate about that, and I was like, hold on, we got to save this for a podcast.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, and if you guys who don't know what that is, you'll see it later.
You'll see.
But how about this? Let's close off and talk about what we think our own uniforms, not uniforms, I'm sorry, basic wardrobes would be, or starting wardrobes would be. And let's start off with like vintage real quick, because that one, I'm sure we get that a lot from our vintage fans, I guess, from like Dapper Day and everything. And I think it should be addressed because I don't think actually people don't actually talk about that a lot.
Yeah. So we're talking about if you're trying to go for a vintage look or what vintage pieces we like.
I think if you're trying to go for a vintage look.
Okay.
So I think, okay, so obviously a lot of these things will translate over to a classic menswear wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like a navy blazer, and khakis or whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely think like a blue striped. I guess it works for both, honestly.
Yep.
If you're really thinking about it, because at the end of the day, changing just the details are what will make the different looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, fine. Let's just make our basic wardrobe. Let's go.
Okay.
Start us off.
So I would definitely agree with a couple things from the Richard Press.
Incorporating everything I think is best.
Yeah, because I mean we talked about this earlier, where the basic bastard / like kind of simple Ivy wardrobe is really great for beginners. So I'm gonna go mostly from that. So
okay.
Yeah, I think a nice pair of chinos, like just khaki chinos, maybe some in olive, or like if you want to kind of be more interesting. Beecher trousers, the 1950s military chinos with like the patch pockets, those are great. Yeah, Oxford shirts. I have a blue university stripe Oxford that I got on eBay for like $15 that I just wear all the time because it goes with everything. Just plain blue Oxford, just university stripes are always great. I would say blue suit. And instead of a blue blazer, I would say a brown check blazer, brown plaid. Just because I like those a lot more. I think they go really great with jeans and everything else that Richard Press mentioned on there. And then, I guess a pair of like loafers or just simple derbies or something like that.
That's your basic wardrobe?
Yeah, if I had written a list, I'm sure it would have been more comprehensive. But that's maybe like a field jacket or something like that, like a vintage field jacket or jungle jacket or something, just for like more casual stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
that works.
Mm-hmm.
So here's mine, and I think about clothes a lot because that's my thing. But I'm gonna try and go through all the basics that you should need. So all seasons, I guess, in California. So that's my point of reference. So definitely a navy blue jacket. I would say a mid-weight hop sack or a mid-weight open weave wool.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to do flannel, you could. I still wear kind of mid-weight jackets in summer, just at like the evening time. I wouldn't necessarily wear it during the day, but definitely have one. A navy jacket, soft shoulders, 3-roll 2, patch pockets if you can. A brown jacket, either solid dark brown or a brown check, like Spencer said, which I think look really good with jeans, chinos, and everything. I would have 2 pairs of khaki chinos that have like a military pair, like Gurkhas or plain front, whatever's, and then 1 pleated dress pair. So like a khaki trouser and then a khaki chino.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would wear. A brown trouser and a gray trouser.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 copies of each for each in a different weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like a wool and a flannel, or you could do cotton and flannel or whatever. I'd have 1 brown suit and 1 navy suit and a gray herringbone tweed jacket.
Mm-hmm.
I would also I think that would take care of most of the tailoring. I think everything, maybe like a blue double-breasted suit if you wanted like for formal events.
Oh yeah.
But I still think that you could still use a blue single-breasted suit for those things. But I'm trying to be as minimalistic as possible. And then I would definitely have a couple of Oxford button-down collar shirts because I know that spear points aren't for everyone.
And Oxford OCBDs are just easier to wear, like open collar for casual stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would rock the runaway collar with my spear points, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think a pair of like straight leg jeans.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention jeans. Just dark blue, indigo, raw denim jeans. You're good.
Yeah, I would have like three. I would have like three loop collar shirts, like one white, and like either two, like one white, one blue, and one like pattern or whatever. Couple of crew neck sweaters, like in white, gray, and maybe like a red or yellow, whatever. Like the third one, it will be for fun. Usually in these lists, the third one's always a fun one. And then, god damn, I fucking like, oh yeah, a field jacket, an overcoat. You could alternate between field jacket and leather jacket depending on what your vibe is. And then a chore coat, definitely, that's a must.
Yep.
Because that's like our version of like the safari jacket or the overshirt. I prefer the chore coat. I'm not really a big fan of safari jackets. And then shoes, I would definitely have a good pair of penny loafers, a good pair of PTBs, and then a pair of black penny loafers and black tassel loafers. I guess, well, you don't really need both. Maybe like a black... Oh, okay. Let me go back. Black Oxford, a brown penny loafer, brown plain toe blucher, and that's basically it. Like if you're really, really minimal about it.
Yeah. How about...
And then ties, definitely foulards.
Oh, yeah.
Foulards
stripes,
and stripes. That's basically what we wear all the time. And I think, going off of that, I wouldn't say that would be necessarily the order to buy them in. I would say if you're starting out... We have a friend, Angel, who his Instagram is Aspiring Prep. And, he's a student, he works, and he's obviously not going to wear a suit every day, but every time we see him, he's always wearing a rugby shirt and chinos.
Yeah.
And, like, New Balance sneakers. Again, it's like a neo-prep kind of thing. And starting out with the basics like that, where a rugby shirt, I think, accomplishes... a lot of it combines like the collar of like a polo, or I guess you could argue an OCBD, with a long sleeve, so it's a bit more formal, and then you could wear untucked or tucked in.
Yep, and it's a good kind of like, again, slightly more advanced layering piece. Yeah.
But I mean, by itself, it's pretty good. It can work for whatever you want, and you wear that with chinos and sneakers or loafers, and you could pass for honestly anything. You could look like a smart student. You could.
I love doing like kind of like a 1980s like English kind of like sporty look with them, with like wide chinos and like maybe soccer sneakers. I don't know. I'm sure there's trainers, I guess. But yeah, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And approaching it like that, like taking these basics and then tailoring them, pun intended, to your context, I think is super important. Like skip out on the navy jacket and the brown check jacket if you're in college.
Yep.
Just try and wear the OCBD with a tie, but you can wear it with a field jacket or with a chore coat and with denim instead of trousers, and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
I wish I did that when I was in college.
Me
Maybe
too.
I would have been cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer can still do that now. But yeah, I mean, you can start off with t-shirts and jeans if you like, but I think that starting off with the Oxford and the denim and the loafers is a equally good starting point, just because it's a little bit more elevated. It has a defined style if you're into it already. Like, you're not just doing the basic bastard where you're wearing a nice t-shirt and jeans. You are doing the Ivy League look.
Yep.
And then changing all these stuff to vintage, like going for spear points instead of an OCBD, going for Hollywood waist trousers instead of chinos. That's always a way to do it. And
I would say whether you're going for vintage or a contemporary wardrobe and you're looking for a great suit, this might be a little bit, well, it's not super hard to find, but finding a soft shoulder Brooks Brothers sack suit is great. And we've talked about this a couple times on the blog, but if you're going for a vintage wardrobe, it's perfect because they did not change the design from the 1910s until the 1970s. A contemporary wardrobe, it's great because it still looks good. It's just like, the classic Ivy suit. And you can find them pretty inexpensive on eBay.
And it helps that 3-roll-2 is back in thanks to the Italians.
Yep.
So you could be like, oh yeah, you could argue that it's echoing modern stuff, just in a different kind of look.
Yeah.
And even if you're into like 1930 stuff, I know that the 60s aren't, 60 sack suits aren't exactly as good. But, I mean, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're going for a full period accurate look, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
And you could argue, a lot more specialized than we are, especially because we don't do a lot of that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully this has helped answer some questions that you guys have of like what we think are basics.
Yeah.
Honestly, again, I guess the closing point I would love to reinforce is that your context matters. Please do not just say, can I wear a suit because I want to look dapper? Please don't do that.
Or, will people treat me better because I'm wearing a suit? No, they won't. It's probably not going to happen.
No, I mean, you might get noticed. I don't know if that's exactly what you want. But honestly, the attitude is what matters. Like, if you're going to wear a suit, do it. Just don't be a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
Or don't, you don't have to be a jerk, but like, don't feel like you're entitled to.
Don't think you're better than people because you're wearing a suit. Yeah.
Exactly. And hopefully, if you dress the way we do, you'll be able to make friends with the same attitude, of course, that like that kind of thing. And if you have real friends, they're gonna like you anyway. Like, it doesn't really matter what you wear.
Yeah, and I will say this as someone, I wasn't like a suit guy in high school that wore a suit every day to class, but I was the guy that would find just any opportunity, any excuse to wear a tie or whatever, wear a coat. Now every time I see my friends, like if I see people from high school, I try not to be super dressed up because I want to show them that I can do other looks too. So I'm trying to kind of break away from that reputation with people who knew me when I was just wore suits as much as I could.
Yeah, and as much as we'd like to say experiment with stuff and have fun with it, we'd also like to lessen the amount of embarrassment that you have. Once you get to be older, maybe I guess in like later college, it doesn't really matter. But especially if you're in high school, and we do get a lot of questions from people from high school about how we dress the way we do, tone it down a little bit and just have a good attitude about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And focus on the basics. You don't have to fucking wear a tweed jacket with corduroys and have an attaché case and go to class.
Yeah, like we said this at the beginning, but neither of us really, set out to get the basics. Sometimes I kind of wish I had.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely helps.
Yeah, because it's a great place to start out, and then later even if you're into more advanced stuff, a lot of that stuff you can still wear all the time.
Yeah, and then it also helps that like when you your tastes will change. That's always gonna happen. But I'm a good example. I mean, I started out buying a whole bunch of crazy jackets, and then when I wanted to do more minimal looks, I couldn't because I literally didn't have a navy suit or plain pants or whatever to wear them with. And basics, as boring as they are, have a place. And you'll always fall back on them, like Spencer said, and you're always going to find a reason to wear them. And you can always make them more interesting. Like, even if you wear the same chinos that you've worn forever that are the plain khaki color, wear a fun jacket with it. Use it to wear a fun tie or tone down the crazy shirt or something, or wear it with a different shirt that you wouldn't normally expect.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you've had this pair that you can fall back on.
And so I think last we can talk about just like where to get stuff or where to get inspiration. So we mentioned this at the beginning, but the male fashion advice subreddit has a guide section that doesn't just cover the basic bastard wardrobe. They have specific styles. So if you're into, British country wear, Japanese streetwear, rockabilly, whatever, they have a guide for that. And people have probably asked questions and people have answered questions about whatever you're wondering on that subreddit.
And they have a simple question thread every day now. I think people fought to keep that up there. So you can always jump in there, and if it's a vintage or sartorial question, there are guys who answer that kind of stuff too, but if it's more specific, they'll usually call me in.
Yeah. And if you're looking for where to get stuff and you're just beginning on maybe a student's or high school student's or budget, if your local mall has a Banana Republic, a Uniqlo, and a J. Crew, you're pretty much good. That's those are the three best stores to start out with, I'd say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I don't think we said this in the thing, but like, get the basics from those stores, and then get the interesting stuff thrifting or vintage,
Yep.
eBay, whatever, because
Mhm.
that's where the special style comes from. Like, yeah, you could get the plain chinos from here, you can get your OCBDs, but then get like that cool field jacket that you saw at the vintage store,
Oh yeah,
or go on
Hit
eBay
up
and find that French chore coat.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. Hit up
get the fun
like thrift
ties.
stores or military surplus stores, stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's where your personal style will come in, and that's what we want to emphasize on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, that's basically our style too. Like, we wear a lot of these basics. We wear khaki chinos and navy jackets, but I'll wear a spear point collar because that's a little bit different. It's still made out of Oxford,
Mm-hmm.
but it's different, and
Yeah.
that's where the special stuff comes in.
Yep.
And then for inspiration, I'd say, I mean, there's a whole blog post about where we get inspiration from, but Drake's is a good example of classic menswear, but like using basics or
Yeah.
using Ivy League basics.
Yeah, our two main sources of inspiration, I think, are Drake's and Bryceland's. That's where we go to, I guess, most.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple people we mentioned this episode, like Oxford Cloth Button Down. He's great for that like, very preppy Ivy League style.
That goes for Rogues Galleries too.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned in the DM that I got today, I recommended Tony Sylvester and Crafted Paris for slightly more interesting kind of just kind of vintage workwear, military wear kind of inspired stuff.
With Ivy League influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that should get you in a good place to kind of see what you like.
Yeah.
And
after you follow a couple good people on Instagram, hopefully the Discover page will do the rest of the work for you. So
yeah, I got to get that algorithm.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if you don't find anything you like there, like that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe your thing is combining it with something totally new, or maybe you just haven't found your particular piece of inspiration yet. You know, and just building on that. Looking at different things, exposing yourself to new ideas is how you break out of that. And you'll realize that, your uniform or your basic wardrobe is way different than ours or anyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think we talked about this where it's like you believe that everyone deep down has their own style.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they should be able to wear it.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I yearn for the day when a guy wearing Rick Owens can work at an accounting firm with a guy wearing a fucking Edward Sexton.
There you go.
So, but yeah, hopefully this was a good first topic for you guys.
Yep.
We'll probably discuss some more stuff. Maybe, of course, we'll do some basic stuff like this or talk about suits and pairings. But we'll also talk about things that we've discussed before, like more ethical stuff or
Yep.
I'd love to incorporate our feelings of leftism and Jordan Peterson into this whole thing.
Oh my god. Okay.
we gotta have the progressive voice, but like in menswear.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely go to those links, Male Fashion Advice, go on Drake's or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm on Reddit. Again, I'm always gonna be there as the teenage gentleman. So call me in if you guys need the help. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us at styleanddirection, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Same thing goes for Instagram, but you can mainly reach us on our personal Instagram.
Yep.
I'm at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO. I forgot it for a second, but I got it.
I answer pretty much everything that comes that way, and I like to be connected with the community. And speaking of community, watch Joel McHale on Community tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
Thursdays on NBC.
Yeah, Superstar on NBC. There is a blog community group that has finally passed 1,000 members, which is great. Like I've told Spencer this before, we don't really do anything on it anymore.
Yeah, we comment on stuff, but we don't really start topics a whole lot unless we get like something new.
Yeah, which is super great. I'm really proud that that people have kind of made it their own and started talking.
It's a great mix of kind of like like the stuff that we were talking about, like more contemporary Ivy League, just classic inspired stuff, vintage stuff, whatever. We have a lot of guys in there.
And yeah, seriously, there's a guy who like thrifted like a cool corduroy suit from Japan, and there are also guys who just got like Alden's and got commissioned a custom jacket from Dylan and Sons or whatever. There's a great mix of guys in there. And in closing, before I forget, like that's what is also a good source of inspiration of finding what is the next basics for that you should get, is having a group of guys to kind of discuss this with.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to kind of not make mistakes unless you have feedback, and having friends is kind of important for that.
And no offense to people who aren't into fashion, but it's like they're not gonna know. I mean, they just might not have the vocabulary to give you feedback, the feedback that you need.
Yeah, you might get like a pair of pants and you might be like, something looks off about them, and your non-fashion friends could be like, oh, it looks great, but then you could ask some of our friends and who are into this, who are into menswear, and they could be like, okay, well, you need to like taper them a little bit, or maybe you need to go down a waist size or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really glad about with the group, because we do get a lot of guys who are looking for the next step or the beginning step, and a lot of our guys put them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys for listening.
Yep.
This was really fun. I'm glad we got to do this like whole little nugget episode that ended up being like an hour long, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's fine. It's not like a fucking 2 hour long
episode.
Exactly. I don't know what to plug. This is weird. We don't have anyone to plug.
I haven't watched it yet. Well, okay, House on Haunted Hill or whatever. That's really good on Netflix. I was watching it literally minutes before we started recording, and then I had to pause. But Ballad of Buster Scruggs is great. It's from some of my, like, the Coen brothers are probably my favorite working directors today. It's their new Netflix show or movie, and it's great. I like it so far.
Wreck-It Ralph 2 just came out. It's really good. Great score.
Uh-huh.
It's not the Emoji Movie. It's way better than that.
The trailers made it look so much like the Emoji Movie.
And it's so good. It's really it deals with a lot of mature topics, which I think is really great. I think we should explain. I think the reason why we do a lot of these plugs for social media, social media, but like pop culture, is because, I mean, the whole thing is basically us recommending you guys to do stuff, and suggesting other things to do with your life is a lot more fun than us just saying, hey, look at Drake's, even though we mentioned Drake's like 5 times in this podcast. Yeah,
because it's like we have interests outside of fashion. When Ethan and I hang out, unless it's we're going to talk about clothes, but if it's not a menswear event, that's not most of what we're talking about.
We're not threadheads.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I'm coining that right now. Let
me just Google.
Why don't we call the podcast Threadheads?
Heads.
That's actually That's actually really good.
Fuck! Now I wish we called it that.
Is that the new name of the blog now?
Oh my god! When you get your own domain, Threadhead.
It just might be. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Because I'm googling it. There's a lot of Threadheads, but there's nothing like big.
So threadhead.com redirected to killerdive.com.
A small brand outside of Texas, or it might just be a married couple who are into clothes outside of Texas, I guess.
Threadheads.org.
All resale brokers. Jazz. Threadhead and broker.
Okay, so Urban Dictionary, Threadhead. To have someone give you head through your jeans, usually costing an extra lap dance from a stripper.
Okay.
And here's an example. Zach, did you have a good time with Mercedes? Hell yeah, I got some Threadhead.
Well, there you go.
I actually still dig it, so that's great.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Well, why don't you just
leave
us a comment on our Instagram, or DM us if you think that Threadhead should be the next blog post, because I'm getting tired of Street Expressa, just because it's so hard to tell people.
Mm-hmm.
I just give them a card saying, follow me at Ethan M. Wong. Don't even ask me what my blog name is.
You'll see my blog on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys. I said you guys twice. I'm like a record.
It's like an amusement park.
That's for the deep cut people. All right. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.